Hey there, and welcome to another session of the Lenny and Maria Deep Dive podcast show.
Yes, welcome.
Today, we're diving into the world of caffeine,
Ooh, fun.
a substance most of us encounter daily, but probably don't think too much about.
Yeah, that's right.
I know I don't sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
You seem like you're pretty aware of...
Well, I am now,
Okay.
but before we did this research,
Yeah.
I'm just like, give me the coffee.
Right. You need
I don't need to know what's in it.
to function.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to explore its effects on the body
Yes.
and challenge some common assumptions you might have about your daily coffee or tea.
Exactly. Looking forward to that.
To kick things off,
Okay.
I found this fact in the research that totally blew my mind.
Oh, really?
Caffeine is technically a defense chemical produced by plants.
Hmm.
Like, it's basically a poison they use to ward off predators.
Yeah, it's fascinating how something we consider a pick-me-up
Right.
is actually a plant's way of protecting itself.
It's
But it makes you wonder, how does that translate to our bodies when we consume it?
exactly.
What's really going on?
So we'll unpack what this means for your daily caffeine habit, how
Yeah.
it really gives you that boost,
Mm-hmm.
and whether those supposed benefits outweigh the potential risks.
Yeah, all good questions.
So I'm ready.
Okay, let's get started.
Let's start with understanding caffeine as a defense chemical.
Okay.
We usually find it in the seeds of plants like coffee,
Right.
and it acts as a natural pesticide,
Yeah.
paralyzing or even killing insects that try to eat them.
That's pretty powerful stuff, huh?
So my morning coffee is essentially insect repellent.
Kind of, yeah.
That's both cool and slightly disturbing at the same time.
Right, right.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, lay it on me.
While we don't drop dead from a cup of coffee,
Hopefully not.
our bodies still react to caffeine as a toxic substance.
Interesting.
It triggers a stress response,
Okay.
just like it would if we were facing a real threat.
Like a tiger.
Exactly, like a tiger or
Or a bear.
a bear, yeah.
Or an audition
Right.
for a voiceover.
Which we both know
Been there.
very well, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the fight or flight connection the research talks about, right?
Exactly. That's what we're talking about.
So when we consume caffeine, a cascade of physiological changes happens in our bodies.
That's right.
Think of increased heart rate, elevated blood pressure, and a surge of adrenaline.
All those fun things.
So that buzz we feel isn't just about feeling more awake.
Right.
It's our bodies going into survival mode because of the caffeine.
Precisely. Our bodies are basically preparing to fight or flee,
Wow.
even though the danger is just a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Or two or three.
I haven't thought about it like that.
It's pretty wild, right? When you
Yeah.
think about it.
But if that's the case,
Yeah.
then what about all the supposed benefits of caffeine?
Oh, yeah, the benefits.
The research mentions things like weight loss,
Uh-huh.
enhanced exercise performance,
Exactly.
improved kidney function, and even a boost in alertness and cognition.
Right. And those perceived benefits are
Yes.
what we're going to examine next.
Okay.
We'll take a closer look at each one and see how they relate to this whole fight or flight response.
It sounds like we're about to debunk some myths.
Maybe, maybe not. You'll have to wait and see.
I'm ready to dive in.
All right, let's do it. Welcome back.
We were talking about how caffeine triggers our body's fight or flight response.
Right. And now we're going to explore those supposed benefits of caffeine,
Okay.
starting with weight loss.
Oh, interesting.
The research mentions that caffeine can suppress appetite and boost metabolism.
So does that mean my daily coffee is secretly a diet aid?
Well, not exactly. While it's true that caffeine can temporarily suppress appetite and increase metabolism, this is actually a side effect of that fight or flight response we discussed.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm following. How does fight or flight tie into weight loss?
Think about it this way. When your body senses a threat, it needs all its energy to either fight or run away. Digestion is a pretty energy-intensive process, so your body basically puts it on hold to prioritize survival.
Ah, so that's why caffeine can make you feel less hungry.
Exactly.
Your body's too busy preparing for battle.
Exactly. It's not that caffeine has some magical weight loss property.
Right.
It's just hijacking your body's natural response to stress. And, of course, this isn't a sustainable way to lose weight.
So no more late night coffee runs for me if I'm trying to shed a few pounds.
Probably a good idea.
Okay.
Now, let's move on to exercise performance.
Okay.
The research also suggests that caffeine can enhance athletic performance.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that a lot of athletes use caffeine to get an edge.
It's true, but again, this boost is largely due to the fight or flight response. That surge of adrenaline and glucose we talked about gives you a burst of energy and can make you feel more alert and focused.
So it's like giving your workout a shot of adrenaline.
Pretty much. But there's a catch.
Oh, no, what's the catch?
Exercising in a stressed state, even if it's artificially induced by caffeine, can put extra strain on your body.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like pushing your car to the limit. You might get a speed boost, but you're also putting more wear and tear on the engine.
Right, exactly. It's not exactly a recipe for long-term health.
Right.
Now, what about those kidneys?
The kidneys.
The research mentions that caffeine might improve kidney function.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I was surprised by that one.
Uh-huh.
I always thought caffeine was dehydrating.
You're right. Caffeine is a diuretic, meaning it increases urine production. And while that can be beneficial in some cases like flushing out toxins, it's not necessarily a good thing for your kidneys in the long run.
So even though caffeine can make you pee more, it might not actually be good for your kidneys.
That's the gist of it. It's like constantly pushing your kidneys to work overtime.
Okay, I see.
Now let's tackle the mental benefits. Alertness and cognitive function.
Okay, this is the big one for me.
Hmm.
I rely on caffeine to get my brain going in the morning.
I think a lot of us can relate to that. But here's the thing. While caffeine does block adenosine, a neurotransmitter that makes us sleepy, the heightened alertness we feel is largely due to that fight or flight response kicking in, making us hyper-focused.
So it's not that caffeine is making us smarter, it's just making us more alert because we're in survival mode.
You got it. And that heightened state of alertness isn't sustainable.
Okay.
Relying on it constantly can lead to a crash later on, along with potential negative consequences for our overall health, especially in the long term. Plus, if you're constantly relying on caffeine to feel alert, you might be missing out on addressing underlying issues that are contributing to your fatigue, like poor sleep or a nutrient deficiency.
That's a good point. Maybe that afternoon slump isn't just about needing more coffee, but a sign that something else is off.
Exactly. Now, the research doesn't shy away from discussing the potential downsides of caffeine.
Okay.
One of the major concerns is the accumulated damage it can cause, especially to the cardiovascular system.
Right. It mentions that regular caffeine consumption can lead to high blood pressure and other heart problems.
Exactly. Each time we consume caffeine, we're subjecting our bodies to that stress response over time. This can really wear down our cardiovascular system, increasing the risk of heart disease, stroke, and other serious conditions.
It's like revving your engine too high for too long eventually. Something's got to give.
That's a perfect analogy.
Right.
And here's another concerning fact. Those commonly cited safe doses of caffeine, around 300 to 400 milligrams per day, don't necessarily account for these long-term effects. They're primarily focused on avoiding acute toxicity, not the cumulative damage that can occur over years of regular consumption.
So even if I stay within those limits, I could still be doing harm in the long run.
It's definitely a possibility, and it's important to remember that everyone's body is different. What might be considered safe for one person could be harmful to another.
That's a bit unsettling.
Right.
It makes you realize that we shouldn't just blindly follow those generic guidelines, but really pay attention to how caffeine affects us individually.
Absolutely. It's about being mindful and listening to your body's signals.
Okay, now the research also points out that caffeine is essentially a Band-Aid for a poor diet and lifestyle.
Right. It's not addressing the root cause of the problem.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure, if you're constantly feeling tired and sluggish, reaching for that cup of coffee or energy drink might seem like the quickest solution, but it's not addressing the root cause of the problem, which could be things like lack of sleep, poor nutrition, or chronic stress.
So instead of masking the symptoms with caffeine,
Right.
we should be focusing on creating a healthier foundation for our energy levels.
Precisely. The research specifically mentions the benefits of a healthy animal-based diet.
Okay.
This makes sense from a physiological perspective. Animal-based foods provide us with the nutrients we need to function optimally without the need for external stimulants like caffeine.
So are you saying we can actually achieve lasting energy and mental clarity naturally through our diet?
That's the idea. Of course, it's not just about the food we eat. It's also about prioritizing sleep, managing stress, and engaging in regular physical activity. All of these things contribute to a healthy lifestyle that can naturally support our energy levels.
It sounds like a holistic approach to energy management rather than relying on a quick fix like caffeine.
Exactly. It's about addressing the root causes, not just masking the symptoms.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation so far.
Yeah, it has.
We've uncovered some surprising truths about caffeine and its effects on our bodies.
Lots to think about.
But we're not done yet. In part 3, we'll delve into the source's recommendations for transitioning away from caffeine dependence. We'll explore practical tips and strategies for reducing your intake without feeling like you're missing out. Welcome back to The Deep Dive.
Back again.
I don't know about you, but I'm looking at my afternoon coffee a little differently after our last two segments.
Me too. All that talk about fight or flight
Yeah.
makes you think.
So we've learned that caffeine isn't just a harmless pick-me-up. It's actually a powerful substance that can trigger a whole cascade of physiological changes in our bodies.
Yeah, all those hormones and stuff.
And we've discussed how relying on caffeine to power through fatigue might actually be preventing us from addressing the underlying causes of our low energy levels.
Exactly. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bigger problem.
So for those of us who are thinking, okay, maybe I need to rethink my caffeine habit,
Yeah.
where do we even begin?
That's a great question, and the good news is that it doesn't have to be an all-or-nothing approach.
Okay,
The research really emphasizes starting slowly and finding what works best for you.
that makes sense.
Huh.
I've tried quitting caffeine cold turkey before, and let's just say it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, I've been there too.
Those headaches are brutal.
Withdrawal is no joke.
So what are some practical strategies for gradually reducing our caffeine intake?
Well, one simple approach is to cut back on the number of caffeinated beverages you have each day.
Okay.
For example, if you usually drink 3 cups of coffee, try having 2 for a week, then 1 the following week.
That seems manageable.
Right, it's about easing into it.
It's not about depriving yourself, but just gradually scaling back.
Exactly. You can also experiment with diluting your drinks.
Oh.
If you're a coffee drinker, try mixing your regular coffee with decaf and slowly increase the ratio of decaf over time.
Weaning yourself off.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of simply becoming more mindful of your caffeine consumption.
Okay.
Try keeping a journal to track how much caffeine you're having, when you're having it, and how it makes you feel.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, this awareness can help you make more conscious choices about your intake.
It's like anything else. Once you start paying attention, you often realize you're doing things out of habit rather than intention.
Exactly.
Now, the research also talks about the importance of finding alternatives to those go-to caffeinated beverages.
Right, branching out.
When you're used to that caffeine boost, it can be tough to imagine replacing it.
Yeah.
What are some good options?
Well, there's a whole world of delicious and healthy drinks out there that can provide a natural energy boost without the jitters or the inevitable crash that comes with caffeine.
Like what?
Herbal teas are a fantastic option. They come in a huge variety of flavors, and many of them offer unique health benefits.
Ooh, herbal teas. I like those.
Yeah, they're great.
I'm a big fan of chamomile tea in the evening.
Oh yeah, chamomile is known for its relaxing properties. Some other great options include peppermint tea, which can aid digestion, ginger tea, which can soothe nausea, and hibiscus tea, which is loaded with antioxidants.
Those all sound really good. I'm going to have to try those.
You should.
What about people who just really love the taste of coffee but want to avoid the caffeine?
Well, decaf coffee is always an option,
Oh, yeah.
but it's important to note that it isn't completely caffeine-free.
Oh, really?
There's still a small amount, so it might not be suitable for everyone. There are also some newer caffeine-free coffee alternatives made from things like chicory root or roasted barley that have a similar taste and aroma to coffee, but without the caffeine kick.
I haven't heard of those.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
And don't forget about good old-fashioned water.
Oh yeah, water's essential.
Staying hydrated is absolutely crucial for maintaining energy levels throughout the day.
It really is.
Dehydration can lead to fatigue, headaches, and difficulty concentrating, so make sure you're drinking enough water.
It's amazing how such a simple thing can make such a big difference in how we feel.
It really is. Sometimes I forget.
Yeah, we all do.
Now, remember how we talked about caffeine being a Band-Aid for a poor diet and lifestyle?
Right, addressing those underlying issues.
It's essential to address those underlying causes of fatigue.
Absolutely.
So, what are some key things we can focus on?
Well, we've touched on these throughout our deep dive, but they're worth reiterating. Prioritizing sleep is huge aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night. Create a relaxing bedtime routine and make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool.
It sounds simple, but so many of us don't get enough sleep.
It's true, we're a sleep-deprived society.
And then there's diet.
Ah, yes, food.
Eating a balanced, nutritious diet is crucial for sustained energy. Focus on whole, unprocessed foods like fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats.
All the good stuff.
And we talked earlier about the benefits of an animal-based diet, right?
Yes, the research definitely highlights that. But even if you're not following a strict animal-based diet, making sure you're getting enough nutrients from whole food sources is key.
And what about exercise?
Exercise.
Doesn't that make you tired?
It might seem counterintuitive, but regular physical activity actually increases energy levels over time.
Hmm.
It strengthens your cardiovascular system, builds muscle, and helps you sleep better, all of which contribute to increased energy.
So it's about building stamina and resilience, rather than relying on quick fixes.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be strenuous exercise. Even moderate activity like brisk walking, swimming, or dancing can make a big difference.
So get out there and move.
Exactly.
And finally, we can't forget about stress management.
Ah, yes. Stress, the silent killer.
Stress is a major energy zapper.
It really is.
Finding healthy ways to manage stress, like meditation yoga, spending time in nature, or doing activities you enjoy, can have a huge impact on your energy levels.
Absolutely anything that helps you unwind and de-stress.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
I agree. I've learned a lot.
We've challenged assumptions, explored the science behind caffeine, and discovered some practical strategies for making more informed choices about our caffeine consumption.
It's been a great deep dive.
So as we wrap up,
Okay.
what's the key message you want our listeners to take away?
I think the biggest takeaway is that caffeine is a powerful substance, and it's essential to be aware of its effects on your body. It's not inherently good or bad, but you need to make choices that align with your personal health goals.
I like that. And if you're thinking about reducing your caffeine intake or quitting altogether,
Yeah.
remember you're not alone. There are resources available, including healthcare professionals, support groups, and online communities.
There's a whole community out there.
And remember, it's a journey, not a race. Be kind to yourself, celebrate your successes, and don't be afraid to ask for support along the way.
That's great advice.
Thank you for listening to the Lenny and Berea Deep Dive Podcast Show. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a fascinating topic.
Steven.
Until then, stay curious.